Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing? Everyone's good? Give me a big shot. Woo! It's gonna be if you were here this morning, you know it's gonna be interactive, so get ready to raise your hands and use your voices. But first, I'm gonna do a little experiment. This experiment is from a man named Ólafur Eliasson, and it's going to be about what you see in your mind and what you see in front of you. So let's take a look at the screen. First, the topic today is gonna be about focus. Nope. Okay. Perfect. Cool. Oops. We're going to talk about focus, yeah, but not that focus. Just a small comment. Cool. So we're going to do a little experiment about what you see on the screen here, and I'm going to ask you to focus really, really closely on how it makes you feel and what you think about when your first thought crosses your mind. So first, we're going to start with a little color. So now it's just a big black screen. It could be anything, and it could be whatever you want it to be. And this is essentially how our jobs work. We create something out of nothing. And then imagine this. It's a beautiful white canvas. Imagine it is the mobile app you're designing. It could be the landing page you're working on. It could be the email campaign. It could be anything. How does that make you feel? What is the first thing that crosses your mind when you see a big open canvas? Imagine the screen is like a lamp. And now it's yellow. Enjoy the yellow. Take a deep breath. And let's change the color to red. Do you feel anything special now? Do you feel anything different? We're using CMYK. Yeah, it's like a very fun version of red. I like having my head. So red light makes us more calm. Pink light, it does a very similar thing. Meanwhile, blue light kind of keeps us awake, right? We now all have like the story about blue light filter glasses and all these things. And it also influences the way customers react when they see our products, our marketing, etc. Now, this is a little experiment done by Ólafur Eliasson. This is like art, so what you see is quite up to you. Some of you are like, this is bullshit, I don't see anything. Some of you are like, oh, I really feel like I've been moved and transported to a new world. And so it's really just about grabbing your attention and getting you to focus. Even forming that opinion about whether this is BS, now I have your focus. Now we can start talking about the real topic. So this is the mess of kind of being in UX, right? So as creatives, as designers, the whole world's full of mess. The user needs to need something because we have to get some insight, and so this is how we prove our value. This is what we're constantly pushing for, fresh yet quick ideas. We prepare, but we lack focus. And focus on what? What I always say is you're focusing on outcomes, on metrics, you're trying to have a certain point across, you're building a case, but everything we do, right, everything we do should be about users. And I hate this term because it feels like drugs, and it shouldn't be like an addictive kind of thing. It should be about humans, it should be about people. So before I go into my meat, I'd like to tell you, who the heck is this guy on stage? Well, let's talk about some people. So this is my mom. Everyone say, hi, Mom. All right, cool. And then this is very, very young me, and my even younger brother, and my dad. So my accent hails from Washington, D.C. I live in Spain, in Barcelona, working for Glovo, and my family is both from West Africa, as you see here, in Liberia, in the green, as well as the Philippines, all the way on the other side of the map. So this is one way you can think of me. The other way you can think of me is maybe my professional background. So I have worked for a ton of companies because I like to leave companies quickly if things, AKA consulting. So it's a lot of embedded work, a lot of consulting work, a lot of in-house, a lot of day one, a lot of day 10,400. And so I've worked at really, really small companies as employee number one. I've worked for NGOs, I've worked for banks, I've worked for governments, I've worked for big corporations. And now I'm back in the middle at Glovo at around 5,000 people. And the vision of Glovo is to give everyone easy access to anything in their city. And I think this is a of sometimes. You're like, oh, anyone, anything, easy. Oh, these are really great fluff words that we're never going to achieve. So we started putting like real meaning to these things. So for everyone, we particularly target the kind of average consumer. We went from food delivery in 2014 to groceries, to laundry, to pharmaceuticals, to COVID tests, to handymen, to the people who, plumbers who unclog your drains. Because if we could deliver the goods, we can also deliver the services. It's a time scheduled delivery of when you open your door. Whatever walks through your door can technically be considered a delivery as long as we're the ones dropping it off. So we decided to do this, and it made the UX team a very critical part of the organization from a very, very early stage. We hired 2,000 people in the company last year, but even before that massive jump, we still already had 100 people in UX. And now we're growing really rapidly. We just joined with Delivery Hero Group, so now we're in 75 countries with a total reach for 2.2 billion customers, 800 million of which I am personally responsible for. Right? I'm wearing a little jacket from Barcelona to bring a little Spain here with you. Unfortunately, the warmth didn't quite make it, so it's a little cold. But, let's talk now properly about focus. So, in Denmark, how many of you know how to pronounce this word properly? Okay, let's just hear it. Hygge. Hygge. Yeah, I'm always like higgy, and I'm like, oh, that's what I wish the word was. And like, it sounds cute in that way. You're like, oh yeah, it's like this zen little vibe you feel. It's higgy. I'm like, no, it's hygge. It's like that silent hum from the fridge at night. Yeah, it's like, eat a cookie, eat a cookie. No, okay, so hygge. Hygge is like focusing on the moment. It's like making the ordinary extraordinary, making the normal special. It's what happens when you kind of live life well, and this is kind of a guiding principle in Denmark. It's also something that I tried to kind of learn very quickly, because I've been out of the States now for 9 years. If you know anything about the States, we love to work a lot, work too much. And then I moved to Amsterdam, and I was at Booking.com, and there was a guy on payroll who went around at 4:30. He'd be like, you should go home. And I was like, who are you? And he's like, I'm the guy that tells you to go home. And I was like, this guy actually gets paid to go? And he's like, I water the plants too. And I'm like, okay, cool. It's like a slightly two-factor job, And he's like, the internet works just as well from your house as it does in the office. You should go home. We live in work-life balance. The sun will be gone for about a third of the year. You should really go out and get some now. And I was like, I like that. I like this hygge. So let's go back to that yellow. What are the words you think about when you see the color yellow? Just shout them out. Yeah, now that I've preempted you with cold, you're like, sun, warmth, winter came and now it's leaving. No, okay. Any other words you associate with yellow? Refreshing. Cheap? Someone say cheap? Snot. I mean, that's the list of yellow green you've got behind you at the moment. I was gonna say joy, but snot, it's like art. Whatever you see is whatever you get, What does it do to you in your mind? Yellow is a really important color for me. Yellow is also the color of Glovo. It's the color of our branding, our bags, our mascot. We have a pineapple as a mascot. Don't ask me why. Glovo is actually like a play on words, and no one understands it because no one speaks Spanish. But like, Globo is a balloon, and the little balloon that's next to Glovo is why we named the company that. But if you ever listen to someone who speaks like very fluent Spanish, like B's sound like V's, so they thought it was a joke, and no one's gotten it for 8 years. So, Glovo. So giving everyone easy access to anything in their city, let's break this down. And now the yellow we use is more of a mustard, it's more of a food play, less snot. So everyone. Everyone is defined internally as no one is left behind. Right? We're trying to make sure the product is used by everyone, no matter what income they come from, what language they speak, what nationality they have, if they're a visitor or if they're local. We consider the needs of all the communities, and this is where everyone is like, but aren't you like Uber? And we're like, no. We're like, better. We also own this platform, and we own the responsibility of the couriers who enable the platform, right? And so we think about every single one. A third of my team is dedicated just to couriers. The majority of the gig economy, I'm not going to do a comparison in the entire talk, but the most of the economy of the industry focuses 90% on the customer, and there's like some small team that does like small business sales and like cool things for them, and they're like, we need you to put content with photos, and that's that type. On our team, we actually like spend time delivering food, so every single employee delivers 18 orders a quarter. We put on the bags, we go in the rain, we come to your front door, we're like, hey, sorry they didn't have mustard, so I got you Dijon, is that close enough? Do you like Dijon mustard? And then you're like, no, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, but okay, here's your food. And so everyone feels the problem on the courier side, everyone feels the problem on the partner side, everyone feels the problem on the customer side. So I make UX a challenge and like the responsibility of every single person. The VPs hate me because I have a dashboard where I'm like, according to the system, you haven't delivered food in 14 months, Danny. And he's just like, I was busy. And I'm like, you ordered food today. You could have picked it up yourself and scooted it back to the office. And so I just make them put scooter time on their calendar now, which is when they go and pick up their own food. So yeah, everyone, and I mean everyone. Second, easy access. In order for us to think about everyone, you think everyone has different needs, different responsibilities, different preferences, different budgets, different limitations, and so we define easy as seamless and direct. We've really streamlined the UX. Most of our industry started out with food delivery. How many of you have ordered food on an app? Right, people with their hands down are just lying. So during the pandemic, we had like triple growth. My funniest moment, because I've been at this company only for like 1 year, I was doing a product trip in Morocco, and the CTO of Greenpeace happened to be in this like event, and she ran up to me, and I was like, oh, Greenpeace. I'm like, she's gonna complain about our worker conditions or something. And she was like, oh, you fed me during the pandemic. You were the only company that delivered food for 12 months in Kenya. And I was like, oh. Yes, we did do that. That's amazing. We should do more of this. It was fantastic. We should do a partnership deal. Greenpeace endorses Glovo. They haven't done that yet, so strike that. Don't record that, sorry. So we were like, easy access has to be really, really simple. So if you've ever seen the majority of other products, you go in and Uber's like, we assume you want a car, and if you don't want a car, the entire UI will change for food. Instead, our product has 6 or 7 big circles, and it's like you're a 7-year-old. We're like, do you want food or groceries, or do you want pills, or do you want flowers, or do you want anything? And people are like, food. And then it's like when you go to the machines for Coca-Cola, and you have those rings of all the brands, and you go to like 3 or 4 or 5. It's like a wizard. We're like, cool, you want food? Do you want premium food? Do you want regular food? Or do you want this sponsored food bubble from McDonald's? No one wants the McDonald's food bubble. So they pick regular food, and then they get to the user experience, and they go through in about 1:34 seconds. This has been fantastic. We have the fastest delivery service, we have the fastest user experience for ordering, delivery. What it causes a problem with is new verticals. How many of our customers do you think from food buy groceries on Glovo? Raise your hand if you think it's 10%. Raise your hand if you think it's 20%. A little more. Raise your hand if you think it's 30%. You guys think it's a lot higher. Yeah, it's 13%. 13% of all customers have no idea, 87% of all customers have no idea we are in multiple verticals. 82% of our customers who pay us $10 a month to be in our loyalty program don't know we have other verticals, and we talk to them every day because we're like, hey, you're rating 14 points in this order, you have a free voucher for food. So we're trying to change what easy access means, because before it was just speed. And you're like, oh, speed is ease of use, speed, perfect, good to go. But we need to actually make sure we have some like loyalty, some retention, some kind of trust relationship with the customers. Then we have anything. I've already gone into like all the weird little scenarios we cover. So this is my little general chart. We have food, we have shops, supermarket, beauty and care, courier, and anything. How many of you have ever ordered flowers last minute? Yes. I'm seeing less men hands. Just be proud, you did it. You know you did it. She has no idea you did it, but you did it. And the flowers got there on time, and there was a little note, and she thinks you signed it. No, she doesn't. So like our number 1 sales items were hamburgers, and then number 2 was something I can't tell you, and then number 3 was like flowers and roses in that combination. And then number 4 was like, it's a combo deal that we just made because 4 and 5 were so consistently ordered on Friday nights, Saturday nights. We're like, we should just sell lube with condoms in one package. Because people were like, need them now. And we're like, we'll be there in 26 minutes. He's like, perfect, 1 shower and a candle lit away and from a great night. And so this is like, we literally started optimizing the entire experience around the most used items, but it essentially took us further away from being able to do really cool things that people didn't ask for, didn't naturally do. So you imagine, this is the user experience. A customer gets their phone, they put an order in, they assume some person somewhere puts that order together, and then some other person goes and grabs it and brings it to you. Do you think this is how it works? Now you're all biased. You're like, I'm not raising my hand for anything anymore. Don't be afraid. So this is closer to how it works. So everyone comes in and uses our little bubbles, and then they use the search bar. So we realized that designing for everyone meant that we need to be able to help them find exactly what they want as fast as possible. And so again, optimize for speed. So we have this insanely specific search that knows the difference between capsicum and green peppers, because some people like calling it capsicum. Don't ask me why. I think some of you are here today. And so we needed to have the search auto-translate into 27 different languages, 3 different dialects. Regardless if you're in Spain, the search doesn't have a translate button, and it just would automatically know what you wanted. And this is generally how the experience starts. Then they go through, it goes to the partner, everything's fine. How many of you like ordering things without seeing it? Who likes blind shopping? Yeah, right? Okay, cool. You like photos, right? How many times do you go to get food and there's no photo of the food item? A lot, right? You're like, pad see ew was the same thing I got last time, right? So it should be the same looking thing now. Every restaurant makes the same pad see ew, right? Pad thai, there's some noodles, there's a little bit of shrimp, there's a chicken that got in here somehow. I don't know how that got in here. And then you eat your food and you're like, this is fine. And then you go to a restaurant and you're like, why is this one spicy? And they're like, this is Thai spice, this is the way it's supposed to be. You're like, no, where's the British version of the pad thai I got last time? And why are there bell peppers in here? No, I'm joking. Okay, so we started saying we can't do the same thing for everyone. We can't solve all the problems. We tried the Airbnb Brian Chesky model. We're just hire photographers, send them to the restaurants. How many times have you gone to a restaurant and they're like, hey, we have a new special in town? That's a lot, right? They're always trying some new thing. There's always a 2-for-1 combo. If you do a photography session for a restaurant, by August of that same year, half the menu has no photos again because they've made 14 new items and they're not shutting down the restaurant to make the entire menu every 6 months just to take photos. So they're like, we're not gonna do it. So we're like, cool, let's try to do a program and let's make it more fun. What do you think the number 2 most ordered food item is at Glovo? Or in general? Just shout it out. This is the one I couldn't say earlier. People think it's pizza, which is actually funny. Sushi, okay. Bananas. I'm allergic to bananas. I find this highly offensive. No. Bananas. They don't know, we don't have groceries in their mind. No bananas, no. Anything else? Alcohol. Alcohol's burgers is number 1. Yes. Fries just comes with the burgers. You know that, come on. All right. It's not a category that we naturally saw. We had to add up all the data, but then we're like, all these are the same food item. It's dumplings. And it's not just one dumplings, right? These are not actually called dumplings. These are called gyotas, right? And then we have pierogi from Poland, and then you have kasnudelen from Austria, and then you have tortellini from Italy, and then you have empanadas from South America, and then you have bawang from Taiwan, you have krepelach, you have kuskatka, you have tamales, you have festival, you have pasties from Cornwall. Any people? Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like a dumpling, right? It's a really big dumpling. It's like a calzone plus, but it's fine. And we realized, just like food, we aren't categorizing things correctly. We're focusing so much on the literal thing, we're not focusing on what it means to people. When someone's like, hey, I want a dumpling, they're really saying they want a hot pocket of something good and tasty. They don't want it to be floating on top of a piece of bread, they want it to be hugged, okay? So we're like, cool, this is the same category. You want a dumpling, you want a dumpling. You want a Spanish dumpling or a Chinese dumpling? You want a dumpling, right? So we're like, what other categories are we not associating with each other properly? And we're like, oh, our customers, right? So you're like, what do we all have in common? You know, we come together and we eat food. If this event didn't have food, you guys probably wouldn't be here. Like, you know, we have food at an event and people suddenly show up. I have meetings and I'm like, hey, the meeting's at 9 a.m. And they're like, Kevin, this is ridiculous. I'm like, I'm bringing bagels, empanadas, and coffee. Good coffee. Suddenly everyone's on time. So everyone's like, where is the coffee? We're out of coffee, Kevin. You promised coffee. And now my donut is dry. And I'm like, okay, well, we're here to talk about the budget, so that's why we have no coffee. Like, so people are not just the same people, right? They have different motivations, different needs, you call them different words. You might use the word friend. That person might call you their acquaintance. Not the same thing. So we have to design for customers. We're like, but the customers aren't just customers. We have some customers. We have some friends. We have some friends with benefits. You have your family members. You have people you meet at a party one time who keep feeding you, called your Uncle Sam. And so we can't just think about delivery from the one perspective of all the customers just want their stuff. They want it for different reasons. Sometimes it's a secret. Sometimes it's a gift. I need you to secretly give this to me through the back door so my wife doesn't know that I just bought her present for her anniversary 2 minutes ago on Glovo. We're like, cool, meet you near the green door. Is it the right one? And it happens all the time. And our couriers are like, yeah, you guys don't understand. That's not the address I had to go to. He was like, go around the back. And that's why I was late. And we're like, okay, that seems believable. But now we offer much more than food. We now offer Tony. Your Uncle Sam is not going to come make the paella. We will deliver the paella, the spices, the rice at 2:30, at 2:45. Tony comes with the paella dish. It looks really impressive, cooking it in the sun, and everyone's super happy. And now your friends think that you made paella for them. In reality, he just snuck out the back just in time for you to be like, it smells good. I'm just checking on it. It looks great. Everyone's happy, right? So, problem solved. Party time. No. What ended up happening is that as we launched every new vertical, we ended up focusing on more and more and more people, to the point where the product is now so bespoke and so different in every single vertical in every country, and then you have the language, and then you have localization for culture, that it's an incredibly hard product to maintain. Again, we're 100 people, 40 of which are our designers. We have 5,000,026,789 million orders a week. Would that be funnier? No? Cool. All right. We have a ton of orders per week, and it's always going up. And so we said, okay, what do you think we did? Just shout out a verb. How do you think we solved this problem? Centralize? Any other I's verbs? Any verbs? No? Parameterize. Tag it up. Okay. Prioritize. You can deviate. You can deviate from the I's. It's okay. All right, so we're like, okay, first we're gonna listen up. So here in the middle, you have my best friend, Danny. Danny's always in a photo. He's always in my speeches. I'm in his a lot, so now we make fun of each other on public stages. No one gets it because Danny's not here to laugh at me. But Danny's always in the middle of a photo on accident making this face, because we'd be like, haha, I had this idea 2 years ago, and I sent it to you, and you ignored it. And this is Danny's face for that sentiment. So we brought in 50,000 couriers over 12 months, and we're like, hey, you're the only people in the business that come in contact with every vertical. You deliver food, you deliver groceries, you deliver TVs, you deliver vacuum cleaners, you deliver baskets of laundry, you pick up handymen and drop them off so that Rebecca can get her TV installed. You know, like, what are the problems you see? Because you interact with all different combinations. The majority of our couriers are not from the country they operate and work in. A lot of our couriers have different kind of reasons for being couriers. In Western Asia, when I say Western Asia, people are like, where's that? I'm like, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, the stands. It's not what they're called, just, you know, bear with me here. And then you have like Northern Africa and West Africa that we operate in. We pay so well that this is a career. Our average retention for a courier is 12 years. We're an 8-year-old company, it's a joke. But like, we've had couriers since day one. In these countries, and they're like, we're not going anywhere, you know, like, it's on their LinkedIn. They're like, courier at Glovo, and people were like, ooh, sir, we have a table for you right here in the front of a restaurant because you have a stable job and we love that. Like, it's like a whole different meaning to them than like gig worker in Europe. And so even designing for them was different, so we brought them all in and we just listened. We listened, we're like, hey, we have a couple goals here. We're gonna make the working conditions better. Not because we have to, because we want to. We're not Uber. And they were like, okay, well, everyone says that. What are you actually gonna commit to? So we're like, first, we are now signed on to the UN SDPs. So we have Strategic Development Program goals. We're gonna commit to them. We're gonna make gig work as flexible and reliable as regular work. 2, we bought the website, thecourierspledge.com. We're like, if everyone thinks that we're gonna be evil, let's prove them wrong by making it public what you sign, what contract you sign, what's the onboarding for couriers, what's the pay per country, what's the pay for if it's rainy or it's late, or if someone orders a 10-kilogram bag of just water bottles, which I don't know why this keeps happening. You're like, you don't wanna carry this. He doesn't want to carry this. And if I ask you to pay 2 extra euros, why are you saying no? And they're just like, I don't know, you should pay for it. We're like, that's not how the world works, but you know. So we were like, let's bring them in and show everyone what we do. So that was step 1. Step 2, again, I like making people do work. They're like, Kevin, we hired you to solve UX. And I'm like, cool, you're gonna go do work. They're like, that's not how it works. I'm like, that's how I work. So let's go get some scooters, people from the executive team, and you're gonna deliver food 18 times every 3 months. And they're like, why? And I was like, to make it more fun, we're gonna travel around the world and do this. So you're gonna do it in Morocco, when there's sandstorms. You're gonna do it in Turkey, where it rains so hard that entire cities just become rivers. We're gonna do it everywhere. You're gonna do it where there's no elevators or lifts. You're gonna do it where people live in basements. You're gonna do it in Taiwan, where there's 84 floors. You're gonna do it in malls, where you can't find the restaurant for 15 minutes because all it says is, you are here, right? Like, imagine the number of problems you discover when you're the person having this problem, and imagine how many solutions you want to come up with when it's your problem to solve. So, made them do that. Second, we folded them in. We actually hired a bunch of couriers. We hired people from FedEx, logistics centers, MFCs, micro-fulfillment centers, and we said, you know so much about the space, you should be on the product team solving for this problem. PMs, no matter where they came from, no matter how much experience they have solving in one industry, they've never worked the ground in that industry. 18 visits a month isn't going to suddenly make you an expert delivering packages perfectly or throwing the mail into the mail slot from the cart. You just aren't going to get that same level of expertise. So we actually hired them, brought them in, made a panel, made a committee, and actually put them on product teams. Third, we said, let's go do what Google does and launch stuff and then kill it very quickly if it doesn't work. So we're like, we're not going to kill courier careers, but we are going to say, you don't want to do delivery in the rain when it's 100 miles per hour winds, but let's make this little robot guy do it, and let's see if he complains as much. Guess what? He didn't. And so we were like, let's do robot deliveries in the scenarios where couriers don't want to be. We're like, awesome, everyone's happy. And then these are the little bubbles I talked about earlier, where you see it feels like a baby game. You're like, step 1, do you want a red book or a blue book? Step 2, do you want a long book or a short book? And like that's how the UI is. It looks nothing like anyone else. Everyone's like, here's 18 ads. McDonald's wants you to buy them. You're like, I don't buy McDonald's ever. Why is this ad still here? And so instead, we just were like, give us the options you care about, and we'll show you only what matches that. And then we said, we have to do a lot more than that. Focusing on people told us that they have different values. Values are changing. So we're starting to electrify the entire fleet. We are the only carbon neutral delivery product in the market. So we have gotten to the point now where all of our buildings, all 24 of them, are carbon neutral with solar panels and wind power, and we are now giving couriers financing options to replace their diesel mopeds with electric ones and bikes. We said we have to look beyond. It's not just the end user. It isn't just the customers, the couriers, and the partners. It's also the customer service agents, the sales teams, and the farmers. So now we go in and we help them get seeds. We try to eliminate the food loss. So we will also pick up and deliver produce, ingredients, seeds, things that need to go to market to actually eliminate the waste that happens before we get the food. And then we chose to be a little political, and we said, hey, humanity and politics, there's a line, and we're going to push that line a little further to the left. We need to actually decide when it's too late for us to care and show care. We have about 500 engineers in Kiev. We have about 400 in Belarus. There's no easy decisions here, but we chose to still operate and deliver on behalf of the UN food program all the food in Kiev till this day. All the food in Ukraine to this day is delivered by us and by Bolt. So we choose to operate in war zones so people have the food they need. And then last but not least, now that we are the first carbon neutral program, we said the last thing that we need to do is figure out a path to actually integrate the biggest complaint we've heard so far. You're a logistics company. How can you ever be green? And we said that we're going to be the first carbon neutral. We're also going to be the first company that actually paves a pathway to citizenship for all couriers in our product, so that you go from being an immigrant undocumented courier for 3 or 4 months to being a citizen to being an employee as easy as it is to hire a PM. So when I say focus on people, I mean really focus on people. All right, that's my talk. Let's do some questions.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much, Kevin, for such a joyful and a little bit of insight in the fashion in the Barcelona. So thank you so much. Woohoo! Yeah. Thank you. Lovely. Okay, so do we have any questions from the audience? Can't see well.
Over here. My paid heckler.
You put out to the audience the problem of having this infinitely complex set of columns and subdivides, but I don't think you actually asked how you solved it. You just gave a set of processes for bringing in couriers and moved on to the great green credentials, but what was the answer to the question?
So you're talking about the product being so complicated and all the factions, right? All right. So we're in 25 markets, and now because of the group, we're in 75 markets, and it's impossible to solve this problem from the cushy seat of Barcelona. So what we actually did is we are in a learning development program that I am one of the faces of to actually train all the sales teams on design thinking and product psychology. We also train the account managers on the same 2 skills, and we have them have a direct line to myself and the product directors from the space they work in. So anyone who sells a grocery store chain to join Glovo has a direct line to talk to the product director of Q-commerce retail groceries, so that there is this direct voice of customer from both the NPS marketing side, the internal UX side, and then also the front lines of sales.
Sorry, but that hasn't dealt with the... I still haven't understood how you've dealt with the complexity. I can hear how you've done more research.
So let me try to... the result of that turns into a very, very complicated experimentation ML layer. So for every... It's like Facebook, right? If you open Facebook or Google right now and search the same thing, you'd all have different results. So we thought that instead of trying to do a one-size-fits-all solution to go from this crazy complicated to like crazy simple, we'd come in the middle. So we then segmented the customers, the partners, and the couriers into these groups of 8, 3, and 6. So quick thing. Restaurants aren't the same. So the McDonald's and the chains of the road get a certain experience. You then have what we call local heroes, so restaurants that are doing really well. We actually have a thing called Glovo Concepts, and we help them launch a second restaurant. We finance a second restaurant or a ghost kitchen or something like this. And so we actually just have dedicated teams now who work with just each segment of customer, each segment of partner. And there are 8 versions of the products, but to you, you see the version that makes the most sense in the country you're in.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi. Do you deliver the same product in all the markets, or do you customize the experience based on user needs?
So we are in 2,400 cities, and I would say it's very bespoke. So we launched micro-localization in March. So in Spain, we even have Basque and Catalan. And so if you're in that city, you have the option of an additional 2 languages we support just for that region. We have the complexity of translating the UI, as well as the menus, as well as UGC reviews. So we have a very, very special team that goes through with linguistics and the meaning, intention of words, and tries to do a custom machine translation for language. And then we even have like a filter on tone. In Portugal, we're very, very casual, and we couldn't get customers that were older because they thought it was a bit disrespectful when we talked to them. So we actually changed to like formal tense. And so in each country, there's a flag for like language, local language, tone of voice, customer type, and even minute details like if we think you're a household or an individual.
God, thank God I didn't drop that. Thank you, great talk. You were focusing on the couriers there. I'm just curious about the merchants that you guys work with as well. So there's so many diverse different types of merchants and so many different types of countries. How do you manage the catalogue of products that they all have to offer? Do you use a third party or did you build your own in-house system?
It's very custom for Glovo, but now that we're part of this group, we kind of share learnings and lessons. So some of you may have heard of some other companies in the group because we are marketed less, despite being bigger. We own Foodpanda, Talabat, Foodera, eFood. These are all the same company. And ultimately, what we do is we take learnings from each other. One of the kind of easiest things is where we do customizations, because we have a majority food market in the west of Europe. In Eastern Europe, we have 40% margins on groceries. They order everything from us on groceries, and because of the bulk order, there's a lot more increase in the margin. And then we use that margin to pay the couriers. And then in places where there is a distinct understanding of the problems, like in Ukraine right now, people are paying €7 for couriers because the courier is literally dodging missiles to get you food, and they're willing to pay. And then in Spain, we tried to increase it 30 cents, and they literally had a revolt outside the office. So, we are very, very local about these changes and surcharges and things like this.
Right. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Kevin.
Bye.
Brilliant.
That's great.